So, speaking of education and stuff, like his vernacular, it's a little less formal. But when their leader speaks, it's very formal, kind of overly formal, kind of has this very grandiose sort of speech as well, very flowery and poetic, and the truth will be liberated once your city, But he has this whole sermon to give, and the gist of it is, we don't like your city, it's going to burn to the ground. You're all a part of that, but I'm giving you a chance here to be on our side. Ricky takes issue with this. You think we're for these guys? We're not for these guys. I just spent so many pages telling the reader how not for these guys I am. Let me prove it to you. In the city, this pamphlet was printed, which is true. He's not lying, but he's being a little deceptive here, trying to get this outsider to believe that this is a common discussion in the city. Many people are talking about rising up. Sorry. You're good. Many people are talking about rising up against the institution.
And we see Tim here from...
Ah, yes, now Tim is back.
From the first release? Yeah.
And he's toting a weapon now. Yeah. Do want to point out, whenever Ricky says, I might have Marcus's money, Hank turns to Tim and he's like, okay, Tim, you're right. Marcus's money. As if there's some conversation before about who is in charge in this area. So now what can we guess about Tim? He's part of this hangman's horde. And he's been in the slum, and he's paying attention to who does what, so, think your thoughts about that. So Ricky's like, look, we don't all support the institution. Most of us don't even want to be here. He leaves out the part that most of us wish we were inside the wall. We wish we actually were in the city. So, it doesn't work. I mean, it works for Ricky. Hank believes him. He will say after this goes down, he turns to the rest of the slummers and says, I'll let you live. You just go tell them. Just be our messengers. Go spread the word. Let them know that we're coming. And someone speaks up and says, nah, we ain't no slaves. We ain't gonna do what you say. Not as quick on their feet as Ricky was, I guess. Hank orders them all massacred, but spares Ricky for giving the help that he's given, both providing or confirming the names of Marcus and Abarth, the relationship there. The relevance of that to Hank, we don't know yet, but that, and also telling him about this pamphlet, telling him that there's an energy in Boomtown right now, or there's a revolutionary sentiment going around. Off they drive back across the frontier toward the wilderness.
Ricky is distraught.
And Ricky's like, oh dang.
Dang.
And we move on to the epilogue. New character. This gentleman. Subject. I know, it's a weird name, right? We've got this older gentleman dressed somewhat like a maker. He's got the suit. There's no colors on the pages, but I suppose he'd be wearing brown unless he were trying to hide the fact that he's a guy who wears a brown fedora. He doesn't have an armband, so... But he's got a somewhat refined quality about him. He's older. And he's walking... I think he's out of place. I guess that's what I'm getting at. He's in a suit. He looks a little fancier than most of the people we've seen. You can't really tell from my art, but he's just put together a little better than most of what we've seen in Lowtown, which we should hopefully be able to tell from the art and the quality of the buildings and stuff. We're in Lowtown. If we see the Black Pyramid, it'll be, somewhat receded into the distance. But here he walks down a sketchy alley sort of place. He's holding a coin, which that's new. It's not what the symbol used to be. You know what that is?
It's a natural symbol in music, I believe.
It's a natural symbol in music. He's got some sort of token in his hand with a musical symbol on it. He drops it into this blind man's cup. Blind man feels the thing and gives a secret knock on the door, or on a window nearby, and a door swings open, permitting entrance. So, in subject walks into this secret rendezvous place with a code word, coin token sort of thing, and it's the Gruff Man. Cool. Subject and the Gruff Man. What do they have to talk about? He tells them all about running into Ricky earlier, following him home to the annex, and witnessing the Hangman Horde's arrival, and what they did to the slum, and the fact that they left Ricky alive after Ricky showed them a piece of paper. Now that piece of paper that Gruff had comes back into the story. Yeah, I saw the kid earlier, he was handing these out, and he's telling Subject that something is going on with the Horde. It seems like they're doing something a little different. We've always heard that they show up, they give a sermon, and then everyone they have the choice to either convert or die. But something was different this time. This kid showed them this piece of paper and he left them alive. Hank left him alive and he drove off. This surprises Subject. He's like, you mean all the stuff we've been hearing about convert or die isn't true? Gruff's like, I don't know, maybe something's changed. If you pay me more money, more vouchers, and get me another one of these token things, I'll look into it some more for you. So they've made this agreement. This is cool. I think it's an intriguing way to end the issue. We zoom out a little bit. Now there's, higher actors interested in what's happening in these, this guy out from the slums, this guy who sounds like he's from Hightown, because Gruff tells him, I could have met you in Hightown. This guy is interested in what's going on way out here in the slums and with the outsiders. He's interested enough to pay whatever it takes for the Gruff Man to risk all these charges he's talking about, treason and blasphemy and terrorism. All these capital charges. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what this alludes to, that we're kind of being asked to put together ourselves.
Well, the brother.
That's worth saying, that isn't just like part of the text. So.
The brother. I think the whole... What we try to do with these conversations is Gruff has his own goals, and so does Subject, and they're helping each other out because they feel like they can help each other meet these goals. And Subject speaks plainly at the end of the conversation. He's asking specifically about the brother, who Gruff calls the demon, and that's the whole point of this. Gruff tells Subject about what's going on annex to Lowtown and the Horde, and Subject is interested in one person. Here. I think that's relevant.
And he, knowing that Ricky is a person of interest and within reach, he's not like, okay, well, right out into the outland or into the wilderness. I can't believe I just did that. And fetch me. This is an ongoing conversation that they have, obviously, and now there's someone within reach who might be relevant to what happened. Hank did something different than we would ever expect him to do, and this kid has something to do with it, so he's willing to pay a significant price just to talk to someone who's talked to the Hangman. Yeah. So intriguing, no?
And Gruff accepts.
I think so. I think this is a good first issue, and this is the comic that is our initial goal to make. These first 36 pages, I think it is about 150% of the size of a normal comic book, so it's a supersized first issue we want to make to get this pilot episode sort of thing of the story out there with all this information, with just enough intrigue, with enough information to feel like you've got a foothold on what kind of world this is, what might be going on, and enough intrigue to see the places that it might go. I wanted to get to this point of having the first issue fully out there before I really start pushing and even asking people to share it with other people. But after the second issue, you learn twice as much. It goes to a whole other side of the world. We start learning about the outsiders and some of what they believe and some of what they follow, and it really blooms, really opens up and shows you how much bigger this story is going to be than what you see so far. But this is a fine starting point. You get a taste of the outsiders, you get a taste of the fact that there's revolution, there's government, there's a little bit of supernatural in the beginning, kind of giving you a taste of the whole package. we'll be back next month with another creator chat and some behind the scenes content. Keep coming back to the website. That's where everything's going to be going on. We'll be back next month. Anything else?
That's it. Thanks for joining us.
Music. Applause. Air horn.